Welcome back to Autoimmune Adventures. Today we're talking about one of our favorite topics, resilience. When you're living with chronic illness, resilience isn't just about being strong. It's about learning and adapting and finding new ways to thrive. Our guest today, Sharon Jones, knows that firsthand. She lives with Ankylosing spondylitis, a rare autoimmune disease. And through her own journey with chronic pain and healing, she's become a powerful resilience coach, helping others rebuild and reclaim their strength. Sharon, welcome to Autoimmune Adventures. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, ladies.
Yeah. So we want to talk for just a second about how we look at chronic illness, living with chronic illness, as a mountain climb, climbing a mountain. And some days we are making steady progress, and other days we have to stop and catch our breath. And we're kind of figuring out our next step. What mountains are you on right now? Whether you are still climbing or you have just reached a new milestone?
I'd say at the moment I'm currently still climbing a bit of a mountain from my surgery, or my 5 surgeries last year. I had a spinal cord stimulator inserted last year. So I'm still climbing that mountain of getting used to having a machine inside my body, a battery pack that sits in my bottom, and having to charge myself every second day. It's been a very, very strange journey, because not knowing how the machine will work and how it will affect my body. So I have the battery pack in my bottom and on the top of my bottom, and then the cables are attached to my spinal cord, and they come all the way up and then go back the way around, and a plate is screwed onto my vertebrae where the cables actually sit as well. And just making sure that I monitor myself. I have a remote control that I have to carry with me, and that puts my electrodes up and down depending on my pain. But it's been a lifesaver, I can say, with having it, because it's reduced my pain. I can't take opioids or codeine, so my toleration to drugs is just not good at all. So this was the next step of having something to trial. And I did the trial and it was amazing. So when they removed it, I was devastated because I had this massive flare. And then I had to wait 6 months for my body to reheal and the wounds to close, for them to go back in and redo the whole surgery again and implant it correctly. So I'd say my mountain I'm climbing is that one, just adjusting my body, myself, and my mindset to having something inside me that's a foreign body and shouldn't really be there. And especially when I go overseas, when I fly, because that's a big, when I go, I can't go through the machines and certain x-ray machines and things. Even going shopping, I set the alarms off now, which is quite funny, because I'll walk out and they say, "You have nothing?" And I'm going, "I don't have anything." It's in my body. I have a machine, and they just look at me and go, "Oh, okay, you can go." So that's probably my mountain. I'm still climbing, just slow and steady, just readjusting and getting to understand how it works in my body. And at the moment, it's not working as well as we hoped. So I'm looking at going back in for another surgery to assess the machine and maybe remove the cables and adjust them slightly, because the cables have moved slightly to the right and they're impinging slightly. So they've migrated too far into the skull. So they need to be pulled back down. But that's okay. It's just another journey, and it's just another something different to go through. So yeah, my journey at the moment is the spinal cord stimulator and living with that and adjusting and just slow and steady.
So was that surgery, was this device for the ankylosing spondylitis?
It's for chronic pain. So anybody with chronic pain can have a spinal cord stimulator, because they can place it anywhere within your body to assist with the pain. There's a lot of people with ankylosing spondylitis that do have it inserted for trial. Sometimes it doesn't work. A friend of mine's got fibromyalgia. She's got one inserted and swears by it. So yeah.
That's fascinating. I have not heard of this before. I've never heard of that. That's
Okay.
really fascinating to me. Sounds a little terrifying, but also what an amazing advance in medical technology.
It's bizarre. I just would not think that I would get the relief I've got from it. Because when I researched it and they told me about it, I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I did a lot of research through America. I was like, oh, okay, this is a really big thing. It's very, so I was like, okay, I'll try this, see how we go. My week trial was amazing. I just couldn't believe I sat up in bed in the morning, was like, oh, I've got no pain. I can step out of bed. I can stand up tall. I'm not hunched over. It was really amazing. It was one of them mind over matter. Is it really in my head? Is this really happening? So yeah, it's been a life changer for me, for sure.
I am really happy to hear that you are finding some relief, because I know chronic pain, the consistent weight that it brings on your life is overwhelming. So I'm going to have you explain what ankylosing spondylitis is, because I think a lot of our followers aren't going to necessarily have a clear understanding of it.
Yes, ankylosing spondylitis is a rare autoimmune disease, and we carry the gene, the HL27 gene. And some people can carry it and not have the disease. And what it does is our white cells, when we're in bed, the white cells are supposed to heal your body. Our white cells attack our body and they attack our organs. So when we're sleeping, the body's not healing, it's being attacked. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel like I've been hit by a big truck because my whole body is just sore. It's an inflammatory disease as well. So your body is constantly inflamed, your muscles, everything's inflamed. And it's more about the AS goes through the system and it fuses your bones together, and then the bones crumble eventually. And then it affects your organs, so it slowly kills off the organs and it attacks all your main organs, including your eyes. So it's a slow degenerative disease where there's no cure. And there is biologics that we can use, whether they be tablets or injections, to try and slow the progress of disease and reduce the inflammation, but it doesn't always work. So it's more about the inflammatory disease, and then it just slowly is affecting the body and just impacting on the bones, and then they just crumble, and then fusions are required. So I've had spinal fusion in my C4, 5, 6. So this is all fused. I have a cage in here holding my neck together. So that's fused, caged, and it's got pin and plates all around it to keep it all together. And then we regularly have MRIs to make sure to see how everything's going with the body, because to make sure how the AS joints and everything, because they predominantly say it affects the spine, but that's not necessarily true, because my whole chest is now fused. So this is all fused together. So my breathing capacity is limited, and now my lungs are being compressed because my sternum's all fused together. And then my pelvis is full of holes because it's just slowly crumbling. And I've had one knee surgery to try and protect the knee, but I need to have knee replacements and hip replacements, which we're just waiting. So it's just a degenerative disease where the bones crumble, they fuse, they crumble, and then we end up in a wheelchair whenever that will happen.
That sounds incredibly painful.
Absolutely painful. It's a very painful disease, and people unfortunately look at us as normal people with autoimmune diseases. And I have a disability parking sticker, and I use it on my bad days. And I've been abused and screamed at and yelled at by males, not females, by males, telling me there's nothing wrong with me and how dare I abuse this system. It's a very painful disease, and it's something that we block out that pain. And I didn't realize how much pain I actually was in until I had the stimulator inserted and realized how much that did take from me. So it's a whole new world of living, because before I got diagnosed, my doctor kept telling me it was ladies' issues. Oh, it's just your periods. You need a hysterectomy. It's this. Oh, it's this. And it's like, no, there's something not right with me. And it was only that my friend took me to her doctors because I was full of bruising, and he thought I had leukemia. And he called me the next day and said, I'm really sorry. He said, you don't have leukemia, you have ankylosing spondylitis, and there is no cure. And I don't know what to do for you. But he was the best doctor that I had, because it took him 20 minutes of seeing me to diagnose me with something, whereas my previous GP had seen me forever and just kept telling me just to go away. And I did have a hysterectomy, and that didn't stop my pain.
We all have stories like that. As women especially, we are dismissed often by medical professionals, and we get gaslit and dismissed and ignored and talked down to. And sometimes it is a long, painful, miserable journey to get a diagnosis. So you're not alone in that experience, because we've all been there as well. So
And
I'm sorry you had to experience that.
We're both very sorry you had to experience that. I think the reason we like to talk about resilience on our podcast is because it's a necessary trait you have to have when you have autoimmune disease. You have to learn to be resilient, which brings me to my next question. So obviously you've learned resilience because you've had no choice. Life forced that on you.
Yes.
So when did you decide to make that your work and become a resilience coach?
I've been coaching for a long time, but I decided last year to become a resilience coach after my 5 surgeries, and realizing that, hey, I'm still here. I'm still positive. I'm still moving forward. I was still working in my other business. And even though I'm still coaching people within disabilities, I felt like there was something missing. So last year, I decided that I was going to do resilience coaching and focus more around autoimmune conditions and work with people around their autoimmune, and to show them that as much as we all suffer, we're all here to support each other. No matter the outcome, it doesn't matter if we're having a bad day and we can't do that one thing and we just feel really, really low. It doesn't matter. So I decided last year I was going to focus and put more into resilience and autoimmune, because that's where my passion is, because that's what we live every day.
You are doing a very important work. We always talk on this podcast about how important it is to have support. And we as sisters have each other. And we're very blessed, but we started this podcast because we know not everybody has support. Not everybody has that. And you are, I am certain, a huge piece of your patients, clients, whatever you would like to call them. You're part of their team. We need this kind of stuff. We really need people, because not everybody knows. Like, it's not, resilience is not something that you are naturally gifted with. Usually you have to learn it. You have to learn it. And it's not easy. And you have learned from your own experience. So I think that it's very inspiring that you are doing that. So next question would then be, looking back, what are some of the biggest mindset shifts or lifestyle shifts that you used to help you move forward from simply surviving to actually living with this diagnosis?
I think for me, the big one was that I always pushed myself, and I'm a perfectionist. So I realized that I don't have to be perfect, and I don't have to push myself. And if I don't get everything done today, it doesn't matter. If I just get out of bed today, have a shower and put my clothes on, it doesn't matter. Because I used to push myself so much and so hard, and I was really hard on myself. And I think that comes from a trait from my childhood, because I didn't have the best childhood. So I always pushed myself to be better and be perfect. And then that way I wouldn't be in trouble and I'd be okay and I would survive. And I think just sitting there and realizing one day that, hey, it's okay to not be okay. And I just sat there and just thought, I'm fine the way I am. It doesn't matter. And if people see me for who I am, does that really matter? Because this is who I am. And I think we put that mask on at times when we're not okay. Whereas now every day I'm quite open and happy to say to people, I'm actually not having a good day. But I'm here, I'm showing up, and I'll just do what I can do. So the resilience for me was just stepping out of my shell and realizing it's okay to not be okay. And you can make yourself a coffee and sit there all day or go back to bed. It doesn't matter. There's another day tomorrow. We can move forward. It's not about pushing each other to get the results on the day. If we can't do it, then we can't do it. And that's fine too. And it's just having the support. I used to push people away because I've never had the support. And now I let people in and I let them support me. And that's hard. It's hard for me to do even after surgery last year. My friends were, let's come over, let's make you some meals. I said, no, I'm fine. And then I was like, no, you can come over. Come and make me a meal. Come and help my husband out. I realized that's fine. That's what friends do. That's what support is. It's what family do. And just lowering my guard. That was a big thing for me, was lowering my guard and letting people in. So I think I've learned, excuse me, I think I've learned so much with my ankylosing spondylitis and how I've managed it to now it's more about it's here and I live with it and I don't let it manage me anymore. I live with it and we are one together and that's how it is. So every day is a day that we live together. I'm not managing it anymore. It's not managing me. We're just working together.
I really like that. I was going to ask you how you help people rebuild their resilience, but I think you really covered that nicely. I think that if people apply what you did in practice, then they are going to do that. But are there any other tips that you'd like to share for people who are having burnout or self-doubt that they could use to help them rebuild their resilience?
Absolutely. The burnout and the self-doubt is a horrendous one. And for them, I would say, just sit down and take a breath and have a look around you and just see what you've got. And just take that time, because we all should take the time. Sometimes we don't. And it's not about pushing through. It's just take the time and then move forward. As I say, even if it's just getting out of bed in the morning, that's fine. You've achieved something today. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be big. We don't need to achieve everything in one day, in 1 hour. Just take that breath and just do some slow breathing. Put some nice light music on. I always find that helps me and my other ladies when they call me if they're having a moment, and we put that music on and we just do that deep breath and we breathe in and we breathe out. And then we just say, what are we thankful for today? And I'm thankful I'm out of bed today. I'm thankful that the sun's shining. Go and sit in the sun. Just take 10 minutes. It's just all about just taking that time out and getting out of our own heads, because we're in our own heads thinking, what if? What should I do? How can I do this? What if this doesn't work? Let's just do one step at a time and write that list. What do we want to achieve today? And put three things on that list. And if you don't achieve 3 of them, it doesn't matter. Go back tomorrow and do the second and then the third.
It sounds like mindfulness combined with self-compassion. Right?
Yes.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
I really love it. Sounds like a lot of the things you were saying sound like you did a lot of work to develop self-compassion. And so I know that that's something many of us struggle with, especially with autoimmune disease. It predominantly affects women. Women
Mhm.
specifically struggle with self-compassion. And what role do you think that plays in building resilience? Like what, especially when our bodies aren't cooperating with our plans?
Oh, I think for us as women, the expectations we put on ourselves, and also the expectations of family members, because they don't see what we're going through. They don't understand. So they can tell you they understand. They can tell you you're going to be okay, but they don't know. They don't get that. And unless you've got your family members, your partner that fully understands and gets you, then you're sitting there on your own because you don't feel that that person has your back. And until that person fully understands what you're going through, they don't have your back. As much as they love you and they say they've got you, until they sit down with you and they understand what you're going through. But we have to be open to them. And as women, we're very resilient, we're very strong, and we always put it back on ourselves. It's our role, it's our job, and it's not our job. Nobody said to us, it's our job. We took that role on as women, as parents, as wives, partners. We took the role on, and we need to hand that back. And it's a hard one. It's a hard one to hand back, especially to your partners, to say, hey, I'm actually not okay. Can you do this? It took my husband a long time because I never asked for help. And I would just say to him, leave me, it's fine, I'll do it. And it took him a long time to realize I actually wasn't okay. And he actually needed just to step in and say, no, Sharon, step out of the kitchen. I'm doing dinner today. And even with our children, they would say, no, Mum, I'm doing the laundry today. You're not doing it. But it took me a long time to be able to go, okay, I can do this. I can take that step back and let my family step in. But it's giving yourself that power and that control to go, it's okay. Because we don't need to have that full control. We feel we do, but we actually don't. We just need to take that step back and go, I'm going to give this to you. Can you please do this for me?
Oh, that's hard for me. So
Yeah,
hard. It
it's
takes
so
a
hard.
real level of humility, right? It takes a real level of humility. And it's interesting because you're as all the stuff you're saying, and I'm like, yeah, I really need to do that. I need to do that more. But I've been thinking about it, and for me lately, I've actually been doing pretty well physically. My struggles lately have been mental and emotional struggles. I've entered perimenopause, and it has derailed my life and my mental health. And that is where I'm finding, and it's so much harder than, I can't just say, can you do this for me, because it's not a physical act I need done. I need to share the mental load, the mental labor that I've been doing my whole life for myself and my family and my home and all of those, my work and all of these things. And it's a little easier for me to pinpoint and say, can you please do this in the home with the pets, with whatever, laundry and cooking. And when it's all in my head and my head is overloaded, that's the hard part for me, is figuring out how to hand off mental labor. That's hard for me. But
do you journal?
No, I know I should.
You should. I would recommend that you journal, because what you've got in here, you need to put on paper. And I say this to a lot of people, and a lot of, in my other business, I work with NDIS as well in my other business. So I'm a psychosocial recovery coach with NDIS, so people with mental health, schizophrenia, bipolar, and other disabilities. So I work a lot with them on journaling, because their mental capacity they can't get it out. They don't know how to express. So we talk about journaling, and I say to them, of a night, after you shower, when you're ready for bed, that's when I want you to journal. And that's when I want you to put it out there on the paper. And you don't have to give that to anybody. You can just put it onto the paper, and you can burn it, or you can keep it for a while, and you can go back and reread it. But you don't need to show it to anybody unless you want to, unless it's somebody specifically that you want to show. This is how I'm feeling. These are my emotions. And they're raw, but they're you, and they're what you need to bring out, because it's obviously holding you in, and you need to bring that out, and you just need to journal. Journal for me has been a massive, massive thing for me, and it's really given me back, because I know where you're coming from that mental clarity of the perimenopause and the whole, and the head's just, everything's in there swimming, and you're just drowning in there. And I journaled, and I wrote down, and I went back and read some of my things, like, whoa, like, really? And then other stuff I laughed at, and thought, God, that's just hilarious. That's just, but to me, it was overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I would suggest journaling just before you go to bed, because that's when we seem to offload, and we can just relax and go, oh, and you're just there, and you're writing, and you're carrying, and that will just take some of that off and away from you, and remove that weight. Because as you say, you don't want to give that to anybody, because it's yours, but you need to out. You need to get rid of that. You need to offlay it. So you need to put on paper.
That's great advice.
It is great advice. It's the advice I would give as a coach.
Yeah.
So I'm also a coach, and I'm a mindset coach. And one of the things that I always like to ask people who are all other coaches is, when it comes to mindset and healing, what do you think are the physical benefits of doing things like journaling, meditating, these other things that allow us to enter that space of letting go?
I think they are so important. Mindset for me is a big thing. And the journaling, the meditation, it's huge, because it just gives you that relax. It gives you that flow. In the mornings, I'm up early in the morning, and I go out into my office in the backyard before my staff get here, and I will sit there with my music on, just quiet and calm, and just get me ready for the day. So it's just a whole momentum for me of a little meditation before I start for the day. But it's so important, because for mindset, it adjusts us, it resets us, and it starts us for the day. And it ends us for the day too. So if we're going to do journaling at the end of the day, it's going to end your day. It's going to end your day and reset you ready for the next day. It's so important. And I do enjoy my meditations and my musics, even a little bit of yoga. I don't move as much as I used to, and I would love to move a bit more. But even with a little bit of yoga, Pilates, it's that movement. And it's just that soft, gentle movement. It's definitely good for the mind and the soul. Absolutely.
Shifting gears just a little bit, we wanted to touch back, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but kind of going backward, talking about connecting with others and having that support system. We feel that having a sense of connection is huge, and that's why we love to bring guests like yourself on here. We all have our different stories, but when you feel connected to somebody through different validating experiences, that can be really helpful and healing. So for those that are listening, that are maybe loved ones that are supporting somebody who is trying to build resilience, somebody who is, those people that are maybe in a circle of someone who is struggling with chronic illness, how do they help that loved one build resilience without overstepping, without unintentionally minimizing that person's experience? Because I know they don't intend to do that, but sometimes it can come off that way. Do you have any tips for that?
I think I would say that with that, well, family members or friends, I would just make sure that you remember who you are and don't take on that carer role, because we don't want them to be our carers. We want them to be our partners, family, friends. And just for them to be mindful too of who they are. They've come into the family home. So if it's a friend that's coming in to assist, they're still the friend. They're not the carer. And they need to listen. They need to listen to the person. And they need to acknowledge and not be pushy and not try and take over their lives, because we're still independent. We still have our faculties. We still want to do what we want to do, but we still need the support. So we don't want somebody coming in being bolshy and bossy and telling us this is how it's going to be. This is what you need. It's about asking, what do you want? How can I help? They're the main questions that I would be putting forward, because then that way we feel validated. We don't feel that somebody's coming in and taking over. I don't want somebody to come into my home and take over. I want them to come in and assist me and remind me that they're here to help me as a friend and understand what I'm going through. And to build that resilience for each other, it's just making sure that they understand each other and working together. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
makes sense.
it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it really does. That's great. I think that it is a struggle that we all have, is sometimes we need that help, but we don't ever want to be treated as someone that has to be taken care of. We just want someone who comes in and loves us and helps, just like a good friend, would, even if you just had a simple cold. I think because it is something that doesn't go away, a lot of people turn it into something where it becomes your identity. And one of the things we talk about a lot is that I am not my lupus. It is not mine. I have lupus. It's not my lupus.
Yeah.
And so because of that it is important. So thank you for sharing that. That's really great. One last question before we get into contact for you and those kind of things. We always like to give our listeners something that they can try right away. So I think you've mentioned journaling, and I think that's a great thing for them to try. But are there any other exercises or reflection practices that you can think of that would be a good example to reframe challenges and maybe give an emotional balance? Something that's simple that they can apply?
I think the mindset and breath is a good one to do. Definitely. If they're not feeling into that, though, I think more just taking that time out and just breathing and just listening to their own bodies. And maybe a community group. There's people out there that don't have friends, don't have community, but they can go out there and they can do that catch up, and they can do even an online coffee chat just to catch up, because we know how it is. I have a few friends with different autoimmunes, and I cannot hear from them for a while, and then I text and go, hey, what's going on? And they go, oh no, I'm okay, I'm fine, it's all good, just taking time out. We're not good. So just having that person just to bounce back off and say, are you sure you're okay? What's happening? Can I give you a call? I would do that sort of thing, but that for me, it's more about the relaxation and just taking that time, and whether it would just be 1 minute or 5 minutes where I just sit and just do my breathing and just listen to my music. That's a real easy one to do. It's one that gets us out of our heads. It just gets us to realign. And it's so easy. And there's lots out there of different exercises that they can do sitting on a chair in their office, where they can just do that general stretching, where they're sitting on the chair, they're not over using their bodies. There's a few there that you can do where they're just stretching their legs whilst they're sitting on the chair. They're stretching their arms, arms above your shoulders if your arms will go above your shoulders, that sort of stuff. So just small little things are very important, but it's just about movement too. And just reminding yourselves that if you are sitting in an office chair, make sure you set that alarm for every hour, just to stand up and walk around your office or go outside and then come back in, or make a coffee and then go back in and sit back down. Because we tend to get so busy in our own work that we don't make that time to move. And moving is really important, especially with ankylosing spondylitis. We need to move, otherwise we get stiff and sore worse. So yeah, that's a few little ones that I do.
You've given us some really powerful reminders about self-compassion and working on your mindset and the strength that we can build, that the resilience that we can build. And it really is an exercise of practice. But before we close, where can our listeners find you? Where can they connect with your work and learn more about your coaching?
Contact me on all my socials then, and the links will be up on the screen for you guys.
We're happy you came to join us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're happy that you came. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Autoimmune Adventures. We're so grateful to have you as part of our community. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a little encouragement on their own journey. You can find more resources, past episodes, and inspiration at autoimmuneadventures.com. Remember, you are worthy of joy. Disease does not define your life. You do.